our WIMP. I'm John, this is Joey, Chance, Orlando, and Gabriel. Our product solution was inspired by my poor habit of killing my fish with bad water quality. And so I had to ballpark mostly because I couldn't really interpret shades of pink on the strips, so I needed a little bit of assistance there. And so we hope that this solution will address color blindness, the color accuracy, because it actually shifts in color as soon as the strips get wet, and then the trajectory of the water quality. But our solution should be general in most cases.
All right, so the solution we're proposing is to create a device that automatically reads these chemical testing strips, which you can see on the picture on the right there, and then process that data and then display that to the user. So all the user has to do is load these testing strips in the system, and the system will handle it. So this will be done we'll have a loading mechanism where the user will insert these testing strips. Then the testing strips will be exposed to water at the time of testing through a pump. So that whatever body of water we're testing, we will have a pump hose in there, and it will pump water onto the strip. Once the strip has developed for a significant amount of time and the color is changed and indicated what the chemical levels are in the body of water, we rotate in front of a camera attached to a Raspberry Pi. This Raspberry Pi then processes the image and stores it onto a database for later use. Once the strip has been done reading, it stays on the circular drum in the middle where it keeps rotating around, allowing it to dry before eventually getting disposed. The database then is accessible through a web interface. That, since the Raspberry Pi will be connected to the Wi-Fi network, the user will be able to go onto their network and go to the address of the Raspberry Pi and get information. This will include details like temperature of the pool, past results. It will also provide a way for users to input new testing strips into the system so that the user can test different parameters or just switch which testing strips they're using. The goal of all this, again, is to create a device that is easy to use and doesn't allow a lot of error. So the user tracks the software tracks all the data for the user, and all the user has to do is take corrective action, may add more chlorine, maybe add better filtration in terms for pools. But again, the idea is to have a device that can automate testing with these chemical testing strips that provides a wide range of testing environments. All right, and do we have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. A device, pump, web interface seems like an awful lot of work. Okay, so I mean, from what I'm getting, when you start talking about putting in a device and then connecting up a pump, I mean, you know, that's way more than I want to do for my pool or my pool cleaner wants to do. So, you know, how big is this? How small is it? How easy to use?
So the idea is that, so basically the device will just be a box, and we'll have a place to put the strips in, which will be just kind of a spring-loaded mechanism, and then we'll just have a hose going into the pool. So that will be the extent of the user setup, is making sure that the pump itself can get the water out of the pool, and then that they put the strips in so the device can actually read the strips. So the idea is that you can set this thing up once, you put a bunch of strips in it, and it can work for a few weeks until you have to load in more strips, but after that it requires no setup.
That's what I see is missing from the diagrams and anything here is a sense of what your solution is. You've given the requirements. That's the piece. I don't quite know what to make of this lower left-hand corner because it's too piecemeal. But have you gone and done any kind of prototype, because you're describing both electronic and physical things that you have to have more than just an idea of what how you might do it. You have to have done something here. Have you done any prototypes or looked into how the physical aspect of this project would work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been mostly our entire semester. Basically, the solution is a gear that rotates around that keeps the strips on them, and it brings them in front of the camera that'll take a snapshot of them, and the pump will basically wet them for the time it needs. And as it rotates around, there's a dispense tray that will actually dispose of them. We have basically designs revolving around that.
Okay.
Seems like you're halfway there. The piece that's missing is, okay, great, I know my pool's off, you know, it seems like you need like a chlorine, tied into a chlorine dispenser or something else that can actually fix the problem when you know you're off. And then when you run out of chlorine or you run out of strips, you get an email. You get your web interface. You get an email that says, hey, or some kind of alert that says, hey, you need to take care of this. But to be able to control pH, to be able to control chlorine, that's actually pretty useful.
Yeah, it's
Or would
actually
be pretty useful.
just a simple few lines of code could probably set that up.
I'm sorry, say that again.
A few lines of code could probably set that up.
Yeah, I would think a dispensary, yeah.
Yeah.